chant this, then you can start from here. Is that okay?
Okay.
Okay. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my most humble obeisances to my spiritual master who has opened my eyes which were blinded by ignorance with the light of knowledge. Okay? Okay, Mataji.
Namahum Vishnupadaya Krishna Parasatya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Nami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nirvishasasunyavadi Pachaye Deshatarini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindavam Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Rama Rama.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. So let me sing and we all can sing together 3 times, okay? So this is a very simple tune. Let's start singing like this. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Can everybody sing? Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna,
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 Krishna, Hare
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 Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama, Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama, Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare. Again,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
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 Hare,
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 Hare
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 Rama,
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 Hare
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 Rama,
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 Rama
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 Rama,
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 Hare
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 Hare,
Hare. One last
Hare,
time. Hare
Hare
Krishna,
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 Hare
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 Krishna,
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 Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
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 Rama,
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 Rama
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 Rama,
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 Hare
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 Hare,
Hare.
Jai Haribol. Okay, so we just paid our obeisance, paid our respects to the Panchatattva. Panchatattva means 5. Okay, 5 personalities. So in the middle we have Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself, and next to him is Lord Balaram. Okay, you can remember these 2 for now. Is good already. Okay, thank you, Mataji. Okay, so we move on. Recording is on, right? All right, thank you, Mataji. Devaki Nandana Krishna Gita Patena Tushyati Yata na Vede Danena Yajnatirtha Vritadibihi. The son of Devaki, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, cannot be satisfied by anyone's study of the Vedas, charity, sacrifice, pilgrimage, or vows, as much as he is satisfied by the devotional recitation of the Gita. So Hare Krishna, I welcome you to this course of Gita Gyan, Essence of Bhagavad Gita, Essence of Gita. Sometimes we call it EOG, so Essence of Gita. That's a short form by ISKCON Malaysia. So right now we have I think we have 12 to 15 classes running at the same time nationwide. Okay, so you are one of them. Okay, so today I want to show you this little cute deities. This is Radha Krishna. But like I said previously, all the deities, they have their own names, different names. So this is Radha. This on the right here is Radharani, Radha. And on this left is Krishna. His name is Gokulananda. So we call them Radha Gokulananda. So this small deity, they come out whenever we have festivals. Sometimes in normal temples, we have the Mulastana deity, right? Mulastana Vigraha. And then we have Utsava Vigraha, right? Whenever there is some chariot procession or some Ubbayam, they bring around, they cannot take out the deity from the Mulastanam, isn't it? So here also similar. So we call them Utsava Murtis. So they come up when there are festivals. So like that, they have very cute dresses made matching with Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra. So on the top here, you can see Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra. Yes, they are sitting here. So they are below that. So this is in our temple. Right, these are the deities of ISKCON Sri Jagannath Mandir, located in Taman Yal, Kuala Lumpur. Right, Sri Radha Gokulananda. All right, these are the small deities. And then we also have big deities like this one. This is Radha Madhava. They are in Mayapur. Mayapur is ISKCON International HQ. The HQ is there. It's such a big temple. All right. So what you are seeing is the Radha Krishna only. And Haribo, yes. Actually, we are all dying to go there again. Don't you, Sharmila Mataji? We all are dying to go there. All right. And we have a bigger angle here. Look at this. They're beautiful. They are actually accompanied by Ashta Sakis. Ashta means 8. Sakis means girls, friends. All right. So they have this. Actually, they have millions of gopis to serve them. But of them, out of those millions, thousands of gopis, 8 are principal Sakis, meaning the 8 main girlfriends. They serve Radha and Krishna. Okay, in Vrindavan, when Krishna appeared in Vrindavan. So 4 on Radharani side, 4 on Krishna's side. So they are called Ashtasakis. So the 2 gopis very close, standing very close, the closest to Radha Madhava, they are Lalita and Vishaka. They are the closest. So out of that millions and thousands and millions of gopis, they are principal Sakis. And out of them, these 2 Sakis are very, very special and very close. So they are in Mayapur temple. It's about 4 hours from Calcutta airport. Okay, it's slightly more to the rural place there, so it's a bit far. All right, you have to travel by a road. So that's our Radha Madhava for you. All right. Okay, so we move on. I would like to offer my prayers to my spiritual master. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimade Bhakti Vignanashana Shimha Iti Namine. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimade Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Let's chant together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One more time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai. Thank you, everybody. So we have just started with prayers to invoke the mercy of Lord Krishna and spiritual teachers, so that we are able to understand the message of Bhagavad Gita today. And I also seek everybody's blessings so that I can impart the knowledge that you are needing. All right. So this program is dedicated to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Okay, so we will start with Gita Mahatmya by Naveen Prabhu. Prabhu, are you here? Nothing. Okay, Prabhu, it's not here, I think. You got removed from the meeting?
Hare Krishna Mataji, we are back. Sorry, I
Okay,
had some.
what happened?
I don't know. The internet just went off like that. I'm so sorry.
Okay, luckily. All right, you're on time. Okay, Prabhu.
Okay. Bharadamrita sarvasvam Vishnu Bhaktra Vineshitam Gita Gangodagam Pitva Punarjanma Navidyate. By thinking the Ganga's water of the Gita, the divine quintessence of the Mahabharata emanating from the holy lotus mouth of Lord Vishnu, one will never take a rebirth in the material world again. In other words, by devotionally reciting the Gita, the cycle of birth and death is terminated. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Did you manage to get the Padma Puran Gita Nagari?
Yes, I did.
You got it.
Yes, I did.
Okay. All right. So by drinking, whenever that happens, right, or whenever somebody, there's a demise of somebody, we usually put Ganga water and sprinkle all across their body. So this Ganga water, if you know, it actually comes directly from the spiritual world. It happens when during the pastime of Lord Vamanadev, when he stretched out to measure, when he reached up to the top of the material world, his toe pierces the sky, and Mother Ganga flows down with a great force. All right, have you all seen the documentary? It's such a beautiful documentary how Mother Ganga comes down from the spiritual sky, and then Mother Ganga said, if I have to come, because she was summoned by somebody to come down to purify the world, and she said, if I were to come, I'm going to come in a very great force, and somebody has to take that impact so that I do not destroy the world. And that is where Lord Shiva offered that he will take Mother Ganga on his head, and from there Mother Ganga flows down from Himalaya and she comes down all the way. All right, so she is that pure, very sacred. So it is said that by drinking the Ganges waters of the Gita, right? So it is the words of Bhagavad Gita coming from the lotus mouth of Krishna is equivalent to the drinking Ganges water. It's like that. It's as pure as that. Remember, and I say in chapter 10, Krishna will say, among the rivers, I am Ganga. He will say that. So by drinking the Ganges waters of the Gita, the divine quintessence of the Mahabharata emanating from the holy lotus mouth of Lord Vishnu, one will never take rebirth in the material world again. And then, in other words, by devotionally reciting the Gita, right? By devotionally reciting the Gita, the cycle of birth and death is terminated. So you can imagine if the water cleanses our body, so you can imagine how auspicious is a song sung by the Lord personally. All right, so we have a nice chapter coming up. So yesterday we had this last slide. I did not complete because we already the Baba's 15 minutes. Okay, so yesterday we were talking about knowledge and guru. So this was a story at the end of the chapter yesterday, so I want to recite now. This is to show how a disciple should be intelligent to take the essence of the instruction of a guru, and the guru also must know what kind of disciple he is taking and give the instruction accordingly. So in that way, a guru is such an expert personality to impart knowledge required by the disciple. So what happened was, this sadhu, I mean, this is not the sadhu, but long ago there was this sadhu, and he had a disciple, and they were going on a journey. So this sadhu was riding on a white horse while the disciples were walking behind him. And then they were, the sadhu was talking about being detached. Remember in chapter 3 we talked about doing work, being detached from the results. And then in chapter 4 we saw the importance of a guru. So when you combine all this, you can see that the guru is trying to impart knowledge that do not have any attachment to material activities, sense enjoyments, things like that. So what happened when they were, walking, suddenly the sadhu's kamandulu, where they have that like a little jug with water inside for their purification process, they need that water. So the kamandulu fell off from the horse. And so the sadhu, later on, the sadhu realized, where is my kamandulu? Oh, the disciple said, oh, the kamandulu fell off. Then the sadhu asked, what happened? Why did you pick it up? Because you say don't be attached to material matters. Oh, the sadhu said, no, you should pick up whatever fell from the horse because it's important to me. Okay, and then they went on. And then they went on, the horse started to pass stool. All right, so the disciple quietly took it and bring it along. Suddenly, after some time, the sadhu realized, what was the smell? Such an awful smell is coming out. Can you find out what is it? Oh, this is the dung droppings from the horse. Why are you taking this dropping with you? Because you say you have to collect everything that's falling off from the horse. And then the sadhu was like, oh my God, you shouldn't take everything literally, but you need to take the essence of my instruction. So the essence of his instruction is take things, important things that are falling from the horse, not everything that's falling from the horse, including the dung. All right, so that's why the disciple must be intelligent, and the guru also must know what kind of disciple he is taking. All right, actually the story is very long, but anyway, this is the essence. Okay, so we go move on to today's chapter. Okay, this is a little recap of our types of karma. So if you remember, okay, can you see this guy is a little dark, but he's actually smoking. So generally smoking is regarded as activities against the religious principles because this is intoxication. All right, so any work performed against the scriptural directions are deemed as sinful activities. So when we perform sinful activities, we incur big karma. So very clear about this, yeah. And if you perform any material activities that incur subsequent reaction, every action has a reaction, isn't it? So that is karma. All right. And then when you perform devotional activity, we do not suffer any reactions. Okay, so it is equivalent to non-action. So another way we can say action in non-action. All right. So it is called karma, which means you would not incur any karma when you perform devotional service. Okay, so that is the recap on karma. All right, it's because we are in this chapter 5. Chapter 5 is Karma Yoga, action in Krishna consciousness. In chapter 3, we learned Karma Yoga, where Krishna said you need to be detached from the results of your work being done. So in Sanskrit, the chapter's name is Sannyasa Yoga. Sannyasa means renunciation. All right, so it is yoga in renunciation. However, Srila Prabhupada in English, he gave us this action in Krishna consciousness. All right, okay, a little recap. In chapter 1, we went through the physical setting of the battle, the background of the battlefield, and then Arjuna gave his reasons not to fight. All right, in chapter 2, Krishna started giving knowledge to Arjuna, because Arjuna was speaking on the terms on the platform of a bodily platform. So Krishna had to give the basic knowledge of body versus soul. Body, soul, how the soul is entangled in material body, how the soul is continuously taking birth and dying. And after that, it's not only that, it's taking different species of lives. And then later, towards the end, Krishna started talking about Buddhi Yoga, means use the intelligence. When you know your soul is trapped in this repeated cycle of birth and death, Krishna gave this Buddhi Yoga as a process of to get out of this entanglement of birth and death. So that is recap on chapter 2. Now chapter 3, Krishna speaks about how a person with the knowledge that he is not the body, he is the soul, he actually has no duties to perform when he involves in Karma Yoga, means he does his duties, but he is not attached to the results. Okay, even Krishna has to come and perform certain duties. However, although he has no duty to perform actually per se, but he is doing certain things to show example. Okay, so they still have to, the great personality still has to be engaged in prescribed duties to show good example to people. Yat acharati shreshtas. Remember, whatever example great men set, common man will follow. All right, so yesterday Naveen Prabhu answered that recap question. Okay, in chapter 4, we learn transcendental knowledge. Basically, it's about knowledge and it's about guru. And then Krishna later on, actually we did not cover everything in chapter 4, but basically Krishna will say there are different kinds of sacrifices in different yagas. Okay, this one we covered, right? Satya Yuga has different prescribed duties, and then Treta is different, Dwapara is different, Kali is different. Then Krishna later on will say the topmost yagya is sacrifice of knowledge. Okay, it means you have that knowledge. What kind of knowledge? We learn in chapter 4, isn't it? Knowing Krishna's transcendental nature and his activity, so that the activity, the very activity that we are doing now, gaining knowledge, is a sacrifice. Okay, this one I mentioned yesterday also. And how do we get this? We get it from by approaching a spiritual master. So this knowledge can actually burn up the reaction of our sinful activities from the past. Okay, so knowledge is this knowledge, we treat it like a boat. It actually takes us sailing through the ocean of material existence. So this is a boat of, we are sitting on the boat of knowledge. So, and then Krishna later on, he says that we have to use this knowledge as a weapon to cut through the ignorance. What is the ignorance? What is that illusion that the Guru is giving us? Soalan cepu mas. Anybody remember what is the illusion the Guru is removing? Those who stayed until the end yesterday should be able to answer this. Please try, somebody. What is that illusion that the Guru is removing? Anybody can remember? Mataji's, Prabhu's. What is the illusion that? Yes. What else? Almost there. That we are not part of Krishna. When we think that we are not part of Krishna, what we tend to think? That we are the ultimate enjoyer. We are the ultimate controller. This is our illusion. We think everything belongs to us. Only we can enjoy everything. These are all illusion. All right, because we are part and parcel of Krishna. So we need to perform activity that is in relation to Krishna. Okay, to attain purification, perfection, all that. All right. Otherwise, what will happen? Bondage. We'll only be further bonded to the world. All right. So that is opening to chapter 5. It starts with Arjuna's question. Arjuna is asking a question to Krishna. Remember in chapter 4, you asked me to avoid abominable activities, but you asking me to engage in this ghastly warfare. So what do you actually want me to do, Krishna? Okay. Then later Krishna talks about renouncing. Then he said, renounce the results of your work. And then he said, now you work with devotion. And then Arjuna thinks that working in devotion is working. So that's why Arjuna is still in confusion. He's going to ask a question. Shalini Mataji. Yeah, okay.
Right. Arjuna uvacha sanyasam karmanam Krishna punaryogam cha shamsasi yachrayayeta yogikam tanme bruhi sunishchitam. Arjuna said, O Krishna, first of all, you asked me to renounce work, and then again you recommend work with devotion. Now, will you kindly tell me definitely which of the two is more beneficial?
Okay, actually Mataji's one is 5.10, I think. Okay, never mind. Sorry, Shalini. Mataji, are you there? Maybe you can do 5.10 later. It's actually 5.10 later by Divya Mataji. But in Excel, the 0 is ignored. So that's why it appeared like 5.1. I'm so sorry for that. Okay, anyways, we proceed. So here, Arjuna is asking, first of all, you asked me to renounce work. And then you asked me to work with devotion. Now, will you kindly tell me definitely which of the two is more beneficial? So, like I mentioned earlier, this is Sannyasa Yoga. So, this is, if you see this word here, Sannyasam Karmanam. Sannyasa means renounce. Renounce. Karmanam means work. Sannyasa Karmanam, yoga of renunciation. It means stopping all work. Okay, understand, Mataji. Okay, literally it means that means stopping all work. All right, so Arjuna is asking, you ask me to stop all work. And then this is what Arjuna is thinking. Arjuna is thinking renunciation means stop all kind of work. And then he ties that to devotion, that he thinks devotional service is also work. If you say work with devotion, then how do I apply this renunciation? Right? This is the question that Arjuna has. And he thinks that bhakti yoga means devotional activities, right? He thinks bhakti yoga and renunciation are not compatible. One is work, one is not work. So how do you want me to do bhakti yoga with renunciation in my mind? That they do not go together. So Arjuna doesn't understand what is actual renunciation is. Again, Arjuna is thinking renunciation means not doing anything, being inactive. Now Krishna refutes that in the next sloka. All right. So now Arjuna is putting that question, right? Which one? Work with devotion or stop all work and become karma sannyasi, means stopping all work. Should I do that or should I do in bhakti? So which one? Okay. So moving on to 5.2, Krishna is answering Arjuna. Sharmila Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Okay. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Sannyasa Karma Yogascha Nishreyasha Karavubhav Tayushtu Karma Sannyasat Karma Yogo Vishishyate. The personality of Godhead replied, the renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good for liberation. But of the two, work in devotional service is better than renunciation of work.
Yes, thank you, Mataji. So Krishna is clearly giving the answer that both are good. Both are going to the same objective, renunciation of the result, actually. That means non-attachment to the result. So renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good. However, Krishna is being clear here that work in devotion is better than renunciation. Okay. So, you know why? Because if one tries to give up work completely, it becomes very difficult. Why? If you remember, one of the quality that I mentioned about the soul is the soul always active. You cannot ask a child to sit down, not playing anything, not doing anything. You cannot grab a ball and then expecting the child to be quiet. So the soul is like that. It has to be active. You cannot stay without doing any work. Right? So actually, it may be possible in a very long run for people to renounce everything and then go to mountain or something like that to, meditate or do yoga or like that. However, that person, in order to renounce work totally, completely, you have to be prepared for that. You cannot just do that immediately. All right? You need to slowly cultivate detachment mentally and physically. All right. So to be a karma sannyasi, Krishna is saying you need to stop all work, but it is not possible. So Krishna, that's why Krishna is saying work in devotional service is better. Basically, one has to purify oneself to prepare for that for years. It takes many years. All right. And many people who try to do it don't really succeed. All right. There were yogis going to the mountains and stay there. After some time, they come back. They want to be engaged in charitable work, like they open schools, hospitals, they engage in welfare work. So that is not really the liberation. You are still engaging in doing good things, which is going to give you reactions to that. So one time a spiritual master shared that, not my spiritual master, he said, he quoted Prabhupada. Somebody came to Prabhupada and said, this happened in China, I think. So this person, he went to some cave to meditate long ago. So after a few years, he came back and he said, I went with so many material things on my head. When I went there and I came back, I had even more material things to think about, because he went there, his mind was still dwelling on the sense objects, things to do, things he has done, things he has to take care. So this is called premature renouncing. So you can do if you are really prepared for it. You are going through the certain purification process, that is possible. Otherwise, it's not possible. Whereas people who engage in devotional service, they're engaging all the senses in serving Krishna. So this is easily done. You are eating, you offer food for Krishna, and then you partake that. All right, it's something like very simple, things as simple as that. So to take up devotional service is not a very difficult thing, like chanting, taking part in kirtan. It is joyfully performed. Very simple as hearing about Krishna, hearing or reading Bhagavad Gita. This is devotional service. What we are doing now is devotional service. So basically, Krishna is saying renouncing the work is not an easy thing. Okay, Krishna will explain further. We will see. 5.6, Sharmila Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Can go ahead.
Sanyasastu mahabaho dukkhamakto mayogataha yogayukto munir brahma nachire nadigachati. Merely renouncing all activities yet not engaging in the devotional service of the Lord cannot make one happy. But the thoughtful person engaged in devotional service can achieve the supreme without delay.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. So Krishna is saying, just by renouncing is not sufficient. Just by renouncing everything, it will not make us happy. However, a person who engaged in devotional service can achieve Bhagavan without delay. So if you see here, there's one picture here, one sadhu is sitting under a tree. And he's just sitting there, not doing anything, renouncing. That means he's here, renouncing all activities. People generally, they adore this kind of renunciation. Oh, this person is such a sadhu. He has renounced the material world and he has come here, being alone, secluded. He's living in forest under a tree. However, what we need to understand here, there is no real spiritual pleasure here because you are not doing anything. All right, you are not doing anything. At the same time, you are not doing anything good either. All right, so just by not doing anything, it doesn't mean you have that perfection and peace. All right, then look at the second picture here. So we have Jagannath here. Remember yesterday I showed you a picture of Radha Yatra, the huge chariot festival that happens in Jagannath Puri, Orissa. So the practice there is every time before Jagannath comes out to the road, he starts to chariot, right? Radham, right? He goes street to street, right? So before the Jagannath chariot starts rolling, the tradition is that they have king. Okay, so the Orissa king, he will come and he'll take a broom and he'll sweep the floor. Means he's cleaning the path before the Lord starts moving. All right, you can see from Ambarisha Maharaj's example where he engaged all his senses in Krishna's service, and this is happening until now. So the king sweeps the road for the Lord's devotional service. The king has a lot of things to do. He goes on as the administrator of the state. He has a lot of managerial things to do, the ruling duties. He does everything, and he also engaged in this devotional service. So we have if you go to YouTube, you will see the king will come and sweep. All right. So even in Malaysia, when we do Radha Yatra, around the world, Malaysia has the highest number of Radha Yatra, Jagannath Radha Yatra. All right. So we have that kind of record, but it's just these 2 years we are not able to do the Radha Yatra, and we really, really miss that experience because we pull the Radha Yatra. The cows do not pull, the trucks do not pull, we all pull, even children also will pull from the beginning until the end. So and throughout the Radha Yatra we'll have full blast kirtan. It's really fun, it's really nice. All right, so everybody is engaged in the festival. All right, so the lesson here is that if we engage our senses in Krishna's service, it is way better than stopping our senses. All right, Krishna never encouraged that you go and renounce everything, stop enjoying everything. You want to enjoy music? Yes, you can enjoy kirtan, wonderful kirtan. You like to dance, you don't need to go to discotheque or club. You can dance in front of the Lord for the pleasure of the Lord. All right, not for our own pleasure. All right, so devotees use their senses for the pleasure of the Supreme. If you have such a nice talent for singing or playing music or dancing, you can do it for the pleasure of the Lord. So in this way, you are enjoying what you're doing, but for the pleasure of the Lord, not for satisfying our own senses to feed our ego or pride. It's not that. So we are engaging our senses in spiritual activities, all right. So this way one will be detached from the matter and attached to spiritual energy. So this is why Krishna is saying detached from the matter and attached to spiritual energy. So it is easier to serve the Lord using the senses compared to stopping all the sense activities. All right, instead of going into mountain, leaving family, sitting under tree or cave or forest. Okay, Krishna never recommends this. And devotional service can be done anyone. You have seen little children reciting the slokas, right? So Bhagavad Gita is not a very sophisticated thing that people think, oh, only some learned people can learn Bhagavad Gita. Is so high level knowledge. No, right? Even children can memorize and recite the sloka. They also can tell stories. They can cook for the Lord and offer. They also can take part in chanting. And Prabhupada one time will say, this spiritual Maha Mantra comes directly from the spiritual world. Everybody can take care. Even a child can take part. Even a child can take part. Even a dog can take part. And I really saw a video, kirtan video from the Western world on FB. When they were chanting on the road, they call it road Sankirtan party, and I saw this dog was like howling away, and then it just sits there, and then later on it sits there and then just listening to them. It never barks to people. It was not attacking anybody. It's just enjoying. So maybe the dog was somebody in the past. All right. So it's really wonderful. So it was really true. Okay, I got a question here. Someone who engaged in devotional services and also want to renounce. Is that fine, Mataji? So actually, this is what Krishna is saying. It is not necessary. Krishna is saying, you are actually renouncing. What are you renouncing? You are renouncing your sense enjoyments. And when you engage in devotional service, you are doing for the pleasure of the Lord. Yeah, that is a core renunciation as well. And then one time, Prabhupada also mentioned that when, there was one devotee, he went to forest and he was chanting Maha Mantra. So this is called devotional service, isn't it? But he was chanting alone there. And this is not recommended. Prabhupada said this is not recommended. When you perform devotional activities, you need to do it in the association of devotees, so that your progress is checked. There is somebody to guide you. All right. So Prabhupada doesn't recommend that. All right. It's just simply engage, go on your daily life and engage in devotional services. Okay. So this way, when we do service, devotional service this way, you can make advancement quickly. All right. Okay. So we move to 5.10. This is 5.10. Divya Mataji, are you available? Would you like
I didn't practice this one because I
Okay.
listened to the previous one.
Yeah, I understand. I overlooked the SL's format. It's okay, Mataji, I will read. Bhagavad Gita for 5.10. Brahmanyadaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti yaha lipyatena sapapena patma patram ibambasa. One who performs his duty without attachment. Okay, one who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme Lord, is unaffected by sinful action, as the lotus leaf is untouched by water. So here Krishna is giving nice example. Like lotus flower or lotus leaf, they always stay on the top of water. All right, even if you see this GIF here, even if water falls on the leaf, the water just runs off. So if you all remember this song, right? What movie is that? Baba, right? Tamare ilai pol neer pole. So this is exactly taken from Bhagavad Gita. See, unaffected by sinful action, as the lotus leaf is untouched by water. Yeah, so people use lines from Bhagavad Gita, right? But it makes sense, isn't it? You need to be detached, just like how the water does not come in contact with the lotus leaf or flower. All right. So similarly, one who is doing duties for Krishna is not affected by the reactions of his activity. Okay. So remember in the beginning, Arjuna did not want to fight. He worries about sinful reactions, that he's going to inflict pain on people, he's going to injure people, all this. He didn't want to fight because of this. He was afraid of sinful reactions. All right. So later, Lord Krishna is describing to Arjuna to fight. He's instructing Arjuna to fight and do it as karma yoga. Okay. You're not doing it for your own benefit, but you're doing it because I am instructing you. And this is the right thing to do, and it is required to be done. So basically, in this verse, Krishna is telling how to do karma yoga. Do your duty without attachment. So Arjuna's duty is to fight. Don't worry about failure, success, victory, defeat. You give that results to Krishna, the Supreme Lord. All right. So that way, even though it was seemingly looking like engaging in fight is involving injuring and killing, that reaction, even though it is sinful, will not act on Arjuna, because Krishna told him to do it. All right. He is giving the results to Krishna. There is no reaction. This is called Nishkama Karma Yoga. Yoga with action without attachment. Nishkama Karma Yoga. And Nishkama Karma Yoga means detaching from the result or surrendering to the result to Krishna with whatever motive, all right, is coming very close to Bhakti Yoga, devotional activity. So that is work in Krishna consciousness, and that's Bhakti Yoga, pure devotional service. What are pure devotional service? Hearing, chanting, remembering, doing worship. So there are 9 devotional service which was taught by Prahlad Maharaj. So maybe we can look at that tomorrow. I have one slide on what are these devotional services. Okay, so remember, you can perform your duty without attachment. Remember the water, how the lotus leaf is untouched by water, 5.10. Okay, a little bit more pictures here, like how you're doing work, right? Everybody's doing work. You're also studying, doing work. Even if you're a housewife, you're also doing work, isn't it? And what we do at the end, we give some result to Krishna, like make some donation to temple, buy books, sponsor some prasadam, sponsor some expenses at the temple. So this is karma yoga. You're giving the results to Krishna. Okay. All right. So clear, huh? We move on. 5.12, Vaishnavi Mataji.
Mataji. Okay. Ayukta karma palam tyaktva shantim apnoti naistikim ayukta kama karena pala sakto libhatyate. The steadily devoted soul attains unadulterate peace because he offers the result of all activities to me, whereas a person who is not in union with the divine, who is greedy for the fruits of his labor, becomes entangled.
Okay. So here we have 2 examples. One is family who's engaged in, they have dedicated their life, the household unit, the nucleus unit in Krishna service. Okay, when they have children, the children grows up to be Krishna conscious, God conscious, and then he's got mridanga here, which means daily he's performing kirtana or bhajana in the house. All right, and then here we have second picture here, all the members of the family are engaged on phone. All right, so this is describing devotees who are detached from excessive material engagement, excessive material enjoyments. And then here we have people who are attached to material enjoyments, and this will cause entanglement. All right, so Krishna is describing the symptoms or the characteristics of a devotee. What do? They get peace, unadulterated peace, pure peace, because they offer the results of all activities to me. So whatever they earn, they engage in in performing activities in the house. Everything is centered around Krishna because you have to spend money to buy food, isn't it? So when you cook that food, you offer to the Lord and you take, that is devotional service. And then you, whatever the money that you earn to maintain the family, you are engaging the money in Krishna service, like through doing the prayers or speaking about Krishna or discussing about Krishna among the family members and teaching Krishna about God consciousness. So like this, you are running a normal life, all right, but your activities are centered around Krishna, all right. And then in contrary, whereas a person who is not in union with the divine, who is greedy for the fruits of his labor, becomes entangled, fully engaged in material enjoyments, and this will cause entanglement. So generally what we are thinking is that the results of our work is for our own pleasure. That is the problem here. So Lord Bhagavan is glorifying the process of karma yoga here. Do your duty with detachment. Okay, so he wants Arjuna to do his duty without being attached to the results. Okay, so this is pretty straightforward example. Okay, so we move on, fast forward to 518. Shalini Mataji. Shalini Mataji. Mataji is not here. Yeah, Mataji is not here. Okay, let me read. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastine Shuni Chaiva Shvapake Cha Panditaha Samadarshinaha. The humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned, a gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater, outcast. So Krishna is telling that a person learned person, a person who is in knowledge. Remember when we learn about everybody is a soul, they are not the body. So one thing I would like to add here is Krishna will later on throughout the Bhagavad Gita, he will start saying that he is the super soul and we are all spirit soul. So we are part and parcel from him. So that way he is expanded into all living entities as Paramatma. So in our body, in our self, we have our own soul, spirit soul, and there is also super soul inside them. All right, if you can see here the description here, the super soul is present in all bodies without distinction. So he never discriminate. Oh, I go into this human body, I don't want to go into the dog body. Oh, I don't want to. Oh, I want to be in this Brahmana's body only because he's learned. Oh, I want to be in this tiger but not on the in a peacock or a dog. He never make any discrimination. So similarly, a learned person will not make a discrimination in viewing everybody as a soul. He reviews everybody with equal vision. All right, a Krishna conscious person who knows that Paramatma is present in everybody's heart, he does not make distinction between species or caste. Okay, so this is a very important point here. Now you can see the Brahmana and the outcast. Outcast means what? Generally in the society, people deem them as the lowest category or class of people, isn't it? So yesterday we saw how the Varna system is meant to engage people according to their modes. But that doesn't mean one is better than the other like what we have now. This is a perverted version of system that we have now, which was created by man. Human. It is not the system that created by the Lord. The Lord created that system to engage everybody according to their mode, means guna karma, not janma karma. It is not something, if you are a Brahmana, your son is a Brahmana. It is not like that. To become a Brahmana, you need to go through a purificatory process. There's some process involved. You have to study, you have to do this, you have to do that, then you get that quality. All right. So it is a very wrong concept that we have now. So the system that Krishna created is Varna system, which we covered yesterday. So like that, a learned person will not differentiate between a Brahmana and the outcast. They may be different from the social point of view, but a learned person will not see it differently. Whereas, like you see a cow, a dog, an elephant, they may be different from the point of view of species. They can be different species, but you cannot say, oh, the elephant is better, than cow, the cow is better than elephant, or dog is better than a cow, or cow is better than dog. So you don't see it like that. A learned person sees everybody equally. All right. So these differences in the bodily platform is meaningless from the viewpoint of a learned transcendentalist. Okay, so this is actually a very famous picture where Krishna says that he's present in everybody's heart. Okay, so because, like I say, it is due to the relationship to the Supreme. All right, his plenary portion, a part of the Bhagavan is in everybody's heart. So it is as a plenary portion of the Lord is present in everybody's heart. So such an understanding of the Supreme is real knowledge. So this is the knowledge. Okay. And also Krishna is equally kind to everybody. Later on, Krishna will say, I am equal and I'm equal to everybody. I'm non-different and equal to everybody. Later on, we will see that also. But sometimes people think, oh, is it because I'm not a devotee of Krishna? Krishna will take care of me. So we will see that. Krishna will answer that later. All right, 5.22. Harini Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. ये हि संस्पर्शजा भूहा दुःखायो न हेवते आद्य अन्तवन्त कौतेया न ते सुरमते बुद्धः. An intelligent person does not take a part in the sources of misery, which are due to contact with the material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and so the wise man does not delight in them.
Thank you, Mataji. Very nice, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Okay, an intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery. So what kind of activity is that? Whichever activity that involves sense enjoyments, he does not take part in it because it brings misery. And also Krishna says that it has beginning and end, which means it's temporary. The result that the engagement that is coming to contact with our material senses, they have very temporary effect. All right, so such an intelligent person or learned person will not fall into that trap. Okay, so we have 5 pictures here. I want to blow it up, so I put it in the next slide. So basically here, Krishna, somebody can ask, why don't you want to enjoy the results of your work? You are working hard for it after all. Why you want to give it to somebody else? Why you want to give it to Krishna? It's your result, isn't it? So the answer is, we have to understand here from this sloka that Krishna is saying, the nature of the material body and the senses is to always look for pleasure. And the pleasure of the senses are very temporary and they are the source of misery. So if you remember in chapter 2, text 14, I read out a sloka that the non-permanent appearance and appearance of okay, let me read to you that. Okay, so if you have Bhagavad Gita, you can open 2.14. Okay, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. Means the news is that the happiness is also temporary, all right? And the good news is that whatever distress that we are experiencing is also temporary. It will come and go. It will come and go like winter and summer season. So like that, Krishna is saying here, he's repeating here that this kind of pleasures have beginning and end. Okay, we see what are the pleasures that the animals were looking for and what happens to them. Okay, any questions? Iduvum kadanthu ponga, right, Mataji? Very good. All right, what they will call passing cloud, right? They say passing cloud, but it's not merely a philosophy. Krishna himself said it. All right, so a sober person is not bewildered by it, is it? No, one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. So this is what Krishna is saying in 2.14. Let's look at this picture one by one here. So this first picture here, you will see that this one, actually it should be fire, but we couldn't get the fire picture, so we were using light. So you imagine this is fire. Now fire has a very bright light, isn't it? So what these moths all will do, flies or moths or insects, they all go towards the light. All right, like even simply if you have your light switched on, right, insects come in, isn't it? So what is the first thing you do? You switch off the light, isn't it? Okay, we do that in our house also. So similarly, imagine the flies or moths, they're flying towards this fire, but what happens, they are so attracted, their eyes, the senses of their eyes, sight is so attracted to the fire, they fall and die, they get destroyed in the fire. All right, so through the sight, the senses of the sight, the moth is killed by its attraction to the form of fire. Okay, and then you see here this one. Here, this is a lotus or any flower. All right, lotus especially. You see, this is a bee here. All right, bee has a very strong sense of smell. So here we saw the sense of sight, right? This bee has very strong sense of smell. So it goes into the lotus. And what happens is that when the sun sets, you know what happens to lotus? They close. Right? When they close, the bee is so attached to that fragrance, it didn't want to come out from the lotus. And it stays inside and eventually it dies. So that is what happened to the bee. Because of the strong attraction with a strong sense of smell, so it causes destruction of the bee. All right, so the next is okay, deer. Now deer, look at this deer, it's like so stunned. So what happened to this deer? Why it's so stunned? So apparently the deer gets attracted to a sound of certain horn, right? So the hunters, what they do, they know the deer has a very strong sense of hearing. So they blow this certain horn and it gets stunned. It just stops and stunned, and it is the right time for the hunter to shoot and kill the deer. So because of that sense of hearing, it gets attracted and lost its senses. So it dies because of that. Next is can you see this hole here? There is a creature inside here. Can anybody see what is inside here? Just want to make sure that the slide is clear. Can you see what's inside here in this hole? It's actually elephant. All right.
Is it a baby elephant?
It's a male elephant. Yeah, so it's a male elephant. You know how they trap male elephant? They will have female elephant nearby a hole. Yeah, it is elephant, correct. It's elephant. So this is a male elephant. So what they do, they use the female elephant to attract male elephant. Why? Because the elephant has very strong sense of touch. It has a very strong desire to touch the female elephant. So it comes towards the female elephant, and it falls into the hole that was dug near the female elephant. So this is how a male elephant is trapped. Okay, so this is how they capture male elephant by exploiting its sensuous desire to kill, to capture. I don't know what they will do to the elephant, but they will capture. All right. Finally, we have this fish here. So what happens to this fish here? Now that I have told you 4 stories, can somebody tell me what happens to the fish? What happens to this fish? What could be his sense? We have 5 senses, right? Ear, nose, skin, eye. One more. What is it? Taste. So what happens here? Anybody want to tell? Sapada. Sapada mukiam Mataji. So there's a bait here, right? There's a bait here. They use bait to capture. What happened to my mouse? Okay. Okay. So there's a bait here. Now, the tongue, right? A fish is killed by its desire to taste of the bait on a hook. So like this, each of these creatures, they have certain sense very strong, very prominent in them. So what is the connection between these creatures, their senses, and our senses? All right, these creatures, they have only one sense prominent in them, but human, all our senses are very strong. All right, one sense is enough to kill that creature. So can you imagine, we have all 5 senses are very strong, all are prominent. Okay, so we have sight, sound, smell, taste, touch. All right, so all the pleasure perceived through these senses have beginning and end. They don't last very long. All right, so what happens later? These senses, ultimately, they bring us miseries. All right, so a learned person, what do? They learn detachment from this material illusion. We accept these 5 helpless creatures as our gurus and learn the needful. So we have to be very careful. So there are ways to purify these activities, our senses. So how? This bhakti yoga, by doing bhakti yoga, you actually develop higher taste. So for example, previously you used to go clubbing and disco, like that, and then suddenly you change, you had a transformation, but all you do is now you dance in front of the Lord, like that. So previously you used to watch all this maybe some inappropriate contents on the media, but now you renounce that, and then you only engage in doing or watching or hearing media that in the mode of goodness. From ignorance you become good. Let's say you used to listen to metal rocks, so now you want to do some nice kirtan, nice bhajan. All right, so it gives you peace. You should try and see. It's really true. All right. And next is, be convinced intellectually there is no real pleasure in this material world. All right, like I say, you want to enjoy dancing and kirtan and everything, you can do it for the Lord. All right, so that is purifying, and it will elevate us. All right, so this one Krishna will say in many places, so we will cover all the time. All right, so we have 5.29 here. Jai Shada Mataji. This is actually our last sloka already. Oh, we are almost on time. Okay, so I have one story later, and then we can end. Mataji, sorry. Okay, go ahead. Jai Shada Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, carry on, Mataji.
Bhoktaram yashnatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram surtam sarva bhoktaram natva mam shantim vretsati. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attain peace from the pangs of material misery. Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. So it's a very famous, some slokas across Bhagavad Gita, they are very famous because we use that in our daily life. And even for children, when we have like Bhagavad Gita competition, stuff like that, we give this kind of prominent slokas. All right. So this is actually peace formula. Universal peace formula. Yes. All right. So how to obtain peace? Everybody is looking for peace. Even United Nations cannot unite everybody, isn't it? We still have wars and fights everywhere. Why everybody is fighting for some land? India also got land fighting. Israel, Palestine also fighting for land. So it is not a religious problem, if you know what it means, right? This is land, humanity, this kind of thing. There is simply no peace among people. Why? Because they do not know these 3 aspects that Krishna is telling here. So there are 3 points here. I can break down this for you. All right. So Krishna is saying, first is, everybody should be in full consciousness of me. All right. Number 2, consciousness as in what? As in that he is the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities. Means he is the ultimate enjoyer. There's a term for that. It is called Supreme Purusha. We are little Purusha. All right. We are also enjoyer, isn't it? We are little creator. We are little Purusha. But Krishna is the ultimate creator and he is the ultimate beneficiary. That's why this word is used here. Ultimate beneficiary. So everything goes to him. Right? Remember in chapter 3, isn't it? Krishna recommended sacrifices. Okay, yagya is meant for Vishnu, but those who cannot do, they do sacrifices for the devas, because they give rain and then the grains, the crop, and we use the grain for us. All right, so here Krishna is repeating that he is the ultimate beneficiary. Number 2. Number 3, He is the well-wisher, benefactor and well-wisher. Benefactor means person who provides everything, who gives money or other kind of help for a person or a cause. That is the meaning of benefactor. Beneficiary is the ultimate enjoyer. Benefactor is the person who provides everything. And he is the well-wisher of all living entities. Alright, Suhrudam. Suhrudam. Always a well-wisher of all entities. So by knowing these three important points in this sloka, we can have this universal peace. This is a universal peace formula. Alright. So, you know, I was saying, right, the United Nations also cannot unite people of different countries. But you can see, like earlier I mentioned about Mayapur, right? So it was the vision of Mahaprabhu that people from all around the world come together and do kirtan like that. So you will see some videos I can show you. Sometimes I play the Kirtan Mela videos in the beginning, right? So that is in Mayapur. So there, people from all around the world come, or Chinese, Westerners, Indians, Asians, everybody come. So this philosophy actually unites people under one cause, devotional service for Bhagwan. That's all. It never say, oh, it's only for Indian or for Chinese or Malays or Jewish or something like that. It never says anything like that. It's for everybody. So that's why Bhagavad Gita, you will never find a word term Hindu there, right? Because it is not for only Indians. It's not only for Hindus. All right. So it's for mankind, everybody. All right. So we are here in the recap. Okay. So in the beginning, can anybody remember what was the question that Arjuna asked Krishna? He asked this or that. And then Krishna answered, this is, both are good, but this is better. Let's see. Okay, renounce or, which is better? Renounce work or work with?
Devotion.
Work with devotion or work with detachment. Okay. Then Krishna answers, both are good. All right. But work in detachment, karma yoga, is better. All right. Work in detachment is easier and superior. This is what Krishna says. All right. Then Krishna says how to perform this Nishkama Karma Yoga, working without attachment, like water on lotus leaf. All right. So you offer the results to Krishna. Remember, I showed you the picture of we working and then we offer certain results to Krishna. Yeah. So we offer the results to Krishna. All right. And then later on, I spoke about Paramatma. What topic is that? What aspect is that? How do we see everybody? 5.18.
Paramatma in everyone's body.
Yes. So when we realize that Paramatma is present in everybody's heart, how do we see them? Equal.
The equal.
Yes. Correct. Equal vision. Very good, Mataji. Equal vision to all living entities. What is the next thing? About all the animals. What is the lesson that we learned there? It's in 5.22. What a learned person will not do.
5 cents, right?
Sorry, Mataji, I think you're getting it. They do not engage in sensual pleasure. Why? Because it brings about miseries, and such pleasures are temporary in nature. Okay, so finally we studied 5.29. Remember the formula. What formula is this?
Universal peace formula.
Yes, universal peace formula. By what we understand this? By understanding the Lord is the beneficiary and the benefactor. And by understanding this knowledge, we can attain peace from the pangs of material miseries. Okay, so there's a little story here. One day, Krishna and Balarama and friends, not one day, every day they go and, play around, go cow herding. So suddenly they didn't have breakfast one day and they got hungry. And then at the nearby, some brahmanas, they were doing fire yagya, fire sacrifice. They were doing this. So usually when they are doing yagya, there'll be a lot of food. All right. So Krishna say, Gopas, my dear friends, I'm so hungry. Can you go over to the Brahmanas and get some food? So the Gopa said, okay, sure. But I said, wait a minute. Don't go and tell them that Krishna wanted food because I'm just a cowherd boy. They might not give me food. But you tell Balaram asked for food. You know why? Because if you know Vasudeva has two wives, Devaki and Rohini. So Krishna was actually born to Devaki, which later on Vasudeva brought to Gokul, Vrindavan. I mentioned yesterday or day before, right? And then Vasudeva's wife, Rohini, had son, Balaram. So this is the well-known fact that Balaram is Kshatriya. So even though Krishna is Kshatriya, but he has to be disguised so that Kamsa, because Kamsa wants to kill him, all right? So then because of this, Krishna will tell the friends, don't tell that Krishna wants, I'm just a cowherd boy, they will not give food. You go and tell them that Balaram wants food because Balaram is Kshatriya, so because of that, the status, they might give food for us. So this Gopas means friends, right? So they went over to the Brahmana, they asked for food. Balaram is hungry, can you give some food? And they totally ignored them. They didn't even turn to the friends to see who's talking or whatever they're asking. So they came back sadly and told Krishna, they never entertain our request. Okay, never mind. Now you go to the Brahmanas' wives. Okay, why? Now these Brahmanas, they're actually doing yagya for Lord Vishnu. So they don't know that Krishna is Supreme Lord himself. Alright, they didn't understand that. So the friends went to the Brahmana's wives. So Krishna told his friends, go to the Brahmana's wives and tell them Krishna and Balaram are hungry. So the boys went to the Brahmana's wives, and this Brahmana's wife, the ladies are more inclined to devotional service very quicker, because they have soft heart, the tendency because of the motherly nature. This is how Krishna made mothers. They have soft nature. So they have so much of love for Krishna and Balaram. When the boys came and told Krishna and Balaram are hungry, immediately they took all the food, because these are Brahmana's wives, the food are there, isn't it? So they took all the food and gave to the boys immediately, and they were sitting there and feeding them and serving them. Then Krishna said, okay, you have been here very long already, you should go back. So Krishna has to tell them to go back because they are so attached to Krishna, they didn't want to go back. Alright, so from here you can see that the Brahmanas, they are learned, right? They are learned, but they fail to see the object behind their knowledge. The object behind the knowledge is Krishna himself. Whereas the Brahmanas' wife, they are very simple. They are not very learned in the mantras and this kind of rituals and processes, but what they have is pure love for Krishna. So that is the conclusion of the chapter. So remember yesterday the Tapana Mishra story, he was so confused after reading so many books, and then he went to Mahaprabhu and said, oh, I'm so confused, I read so many books. The Mahaprabhu said, in this age of Kali, it is not possible to read all the books. You just have to engage in devotional service. You just chant the Maha Mantra, so your purification and elevation is guaranteed. All right. So any questions, Mataji, so far? Yeah. This is in a Krishna book, all right? It is also in Srimad Bhagavatam, but if you just buy that Krishna book, you have all the stories inside there, as well as the philosophy behind the story. Why Krishna did this? Who is this? All right, thank you, Mataji and Prabhu. Okay, so last slide is, I'll just read this from Padma Purana. Harireva samadradya sarvadevi sureshwaraha harinama mahamantrair nasyat papa pisachakam. All the grievous sins, right? We also have a lot of sins, isn't it? We don't know how many lives. This life we say we don't know how much sins we have, and we have so many lives from the past. All the grievous sins of one who worships Lord Sri Hari, the Lord of all lords, and chants the holy name, the Maha Mantra, are removed. So all the grievous sins, when you sincerely chant this Maha Mantra, it is the sins are removed. So Padma Purana. Padma Purana, you know, right, is a conversation between Lord Shiva and Mother Parvati. So can we chant Maha Mantra 3 times before we end the class? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Chant Mataji, everybody, Prabhus.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Rama,
Rama Rama Hare Hare.
One more time, please.
Krishna Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Haribol. Thank you, everyone. Haribol, yes. Okay, so those who have not gotten Bhagavad Gita, so please buy. All right, so probably tomorrow you can, include the Maha Mantra in your daily prayers. All right, so make it a regular activity, right? Whatever mantra that you're reciting now, it's okay, carry on. Wherever devas, Ishta Deva that you're worshipping, you carry on, please carry on. Just include this as well, all right? That's my only request. So don't worry about, Mataji, I'm doing this mantra, can I also do this mantra, Maha Mantra? Is that okay? Am I going to make any offense? So don't worry about all that. So just carry on, right? And yeah, so that's it. Any questions, Mataji Prabhus? Okay, I will share the quiz and the PDF shortly. Thank you, Lata Mataji. Anybody wants to chat with me also can, all right? I have time. Tomorrow, Saturday only. So I can wait until you all leave, then I will leave. Anybody wants to stay to ask questions, then I'm okay.
Mataji, is the class on Sunday?
Sunday, no, break Mataji, because I have my level 2 class as well. I mean, generally, it's a 6 days program per week, right? So it's a break for you all also. Why you want class, Mataji? Okay, tak apalah, ambil rehat lah.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Welcome, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Deshana Mataji. Hare Krishna. Sunday, no class. Yeah, no class. I have level 2. If you want to join, can. I'll be doing chapter 12. But it's 1.5 hour because they are not enough. They say 1 hour is not enough. So level 2 is 1.5 hour, but it's weekly. Tasvina Mataji, have any question? You can ask me. You can chat also. Yeah. Just Maha Mantra, Mataji, sufficient already. That is Maha Mantra already. Krishna himself gave that. Yeah, you can. Very simple, right? You want some tune, Mataji? I can send to you simple tune.
Oh, please do so.
Yeah, very simple. Like Prabhupada always use this one. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Very simple. And then we have so many tunes. Like if you come early a bit, from 7:10, I will play the kirtan so you can catch some tunes. Mataji, you don't want to enroll your kids for the junior Gita?
No, they are joining.
Oh, joining. So they will learn maybe some little kirtan also. Register already?
Yeah, I registered already. Even the Trila of Pillar.
Oh, Trila of the Pillar. Ah.
Yeah, they joined too.
Okay. So you know Narsingha story already.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love to know about Lord Krishna.
Oh, okay. You been to any ISKCON temple, Mataji?
No.
Okay. Where you from, Mataji?
I'm from Penang now.
Oh, so now you are in Penang.
Yes.
Temple just 5 minutes.
But we have a Krishna temple 5 minutes from my home.
Normal temple, Mataji?
A normal temple.
Okay. Nice, Mataji.
Mm-mm.
Okay, Mataji.
Okay, thank you, Mataji.
Good night. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.